Oh, oh, already filming. Okay, cool. So, I'm Eric, and today I want to show you how I'm going to do the lights here in my trolley bus conversion, which I'm currently making into a mobile art studio. And I want to show you these lanterns that I'm going to be turning from using kerosene and wicks, as well as candles, into holding LED lights that I'm going to wire into my electrical system here in the trolley. So I got a few over here I just want to show you to give you some kind of creative inspiration as to the things that you could possibly use. These are all found at various antique shops and transfer stations, and most of which cost less than $20 or so. This right here is a Pullman rail cart lantern. I found two of them, which is pretty fitting because Pullman is an old locomotive rail cart and trolley. Pretty fitting, but this guy right here is currently set up to have a wick in there. And I'm going to come in there and bore it out and wire in an LED light. So this is going to be one of my lights here in the trolley. And this as well is another lantern that currently is set up to house a wick. But you can come in there, pull out that base, bring it over to the drill press, and then drill out a hole that will take a socket for a light. One of these guys right here. This has a socket on here just so you can see what that looks like. But here is where I'll make my electrical connections, and it's got a threaded base on there, and you'll put that into a rod of some sort and secure it however you can in the base. So I'm just going to show you what I'm going to do, and hopefully it kind of inspires you to potentially use some funky reclaimed lighting in your house, your build, your whatever in life, or maybe it's just entertainment for you and you'll never do anything with it. But here's another one as well, just so you can kind of see how far out you can get. This has got a little wall mount as well, and this will get secured and mounted somewhere in the trolley. But the first one I'm going to start with, and I'm going to show you the process of, is this guy up here, which again is another Pullman rail lantern. Which comes apart really easily, and I'm going to take it over to the drill press and probably bore it out or see what I can get in there, maybe like a carbide bit on a angle grinder. So I'll show you what that process looks like. But here's the base before we get started. So here's the tool lineup I'm going to be using. I'm going to start the process by coming in there with one of these whiz tools. I'm not sure what this is actually called. This is a 90-degree something, but I call it a 90-degree whizzer, primarily because it whizzes when you use it. And I'm going to be using these carbide bits right here, these burr tools. And this one's pretty big. I might get into that size, but I'm probably going to start off with this slightly smaller flat barrel to get in there, and then potentially one of these little cones as well, just to open things up. I got a pair of snips if there's any weird pieces of fragments I need to get off there, as well as some files, various sizes. I got a round barreled one, as well as a finer flat, and two pairs of pliers. These little gripper grabbers right here are good for flattening metal and turning it. These ones right here are a little bit more narrow, which help as well. So yeah, let's get into it. Alright, so got the light into the housing right here, and show you the insides. Primarily came in here with the burr tool. You. We can thread it back onto the base and get some wiring in here and plug it into the rest of the lantern. Here we got everything wired up, and I have it on this mega spool, which I found at a yard sale for like $3. It's like 250 feet of electrical wiring, which was a mega score. And what I'll do is mock it up in place, which is right up there, and then run my wiring to my battery bank, which is going to go somewhere behind that wheel hump over there. So I'll make sure I give it enough length to get back there. Phew. Lantern's all wired up, and I have it apart just so you can see what's going on here. The light is in the top part of the fixture, which screws onto what would have been the fuel canister that holds kerosene. And I just quickly drilled a hole in here, just using a drill, and went through. And in order to get it through this turn right here, I put my wiring through the fuel canister and then pulled it up just using my screwdriver. And these are the tools I use right here, just a pair of little wire snips. And pro tip for putting in a socket, if you have this type right here that has any sort of housing, is to tie a stopper knot. And what this does is if you pull on your wiring, instead of pulling on your posts that have your wires on there, the stopper knot will hold onto the housing and kind of save your socket from lasting a little bit longer. That's a tip I learned, and super helpful. So let's put this all together and get it back up on the wall. Phew. Lantern is back together and the wiring just kind of comes out, and I'll clip it back to the wall and probably cover it with a trim piece or maybe like some big vines or I don't know, something. So let's plug it in and see if this thing works, which it does because I already did. So of course I wouldn't show you if it didn't work. It'd look like a jamook, but yeah, looks really cool. Hard to see on video, but it's got that kind of vintage style to it, which has the little helixed LED going through there. And there you go. Pretty slick setup, and gonna do the same to this lantern and this lantern and that lantern. And I got a super cool piece that's gonna go up here. I'll show you that in some pictures at the end, and I'll do a video of my lighting when I'm all done. But right now this is still trolley build phase, so yeah. Hope you learned something, and if not, hope you were at least entertained to some extent. Ooh, and one more thing before I end this video. Make sure that your lantern does not have fuel in it, which I did a really good job of cleaning mine out, because if this has kerosene or whatever kind of fuel in here, and your wiring comes through a tiny little hole, vibrations, whatever, could potentially cause a short on here. And if this thing is full of fuel and that shorts out, that's a bad scenario you got yourself in. And I'm gonna make sure that when I have my wiring onto the bracket, so like looking at this one, I'm going to secure my wiring here and give it some slack. So if the wiring down here ever gets pulled on, it'll just kind of pull up on this support over here and not on that sharp lip going into the fuel canister. So just want to add this little bit of safety precautionary at the end of the video.